This is Rich Hanlin with Mortgage Ballers. Today I got the Brian Green. He's coming to us, and we are going to get some live action on captured on video to find out a little bit more. If we peel back that onion, who is Brian Green? Brian, thanks so much for coming on the show with me today. Sorry, I was a little bit late getting here. We're going back to back on some of these, and everybody deserves to be on time, so I do apologize, but I'm thankful that you still were able to get on today because I really wanted to get this interview. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
No problem. You brought something up as we were talking. I always want to ask people, how long have you been doing loans?
I've been in the industry for my 10th year.
Woo!
I
Double
have been
digits.
lucky enough. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to, I'm close to 1,000 originations since I've started.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a career I never thought I'd get in. When you hear about mortgage, it doesn't sound very exciting, doesn't sound very interesting, but it's something I don't think I could ever stop doing.
Well, you brought something up, and I want to talk about this a little bit because not everybody has this background. You talked about you had worked at a call center. For people to understand what a call center is, talk to us about what's a day in the life of a call center loan originator.
Okay, so basically your day is structured in metrics for the most part. So your goal is to, from where I was at least, take at least 10 new conversations a day. Out of those, you want to be able to build rapport with the borrower, talk to them, eventually pull credit, find benefit for them one way or another, and then move forward from there. So typically my day would start with, before I even open my email, I'm starting to take as many calls as I can, talk to as many people as I can, try to help as many people as I can, and then from there, just keep following up. Work on the files that I have and stay on the phones.
How many calls did you have to make and or take per day in that environment?
I had 10 to 15 new calls, so new conversations, and then outgoing calls. Countless. I had on average per day about 4 hours of talk time. So that's how we really measure how much we've been doing is, how many hours you're actually on the phone talking to people.
Here's my question for you, because I ran when I came to the industry for the first 9 years, we had two 10-person staffed call centers, and they were ours within our building, and they worked from 9 to 8 every day. There was a little bit of overlap when all 20 would be working together, but they were our leads. They were hot leads. We had a manager that would review anything that they thought was a lead and even take it one step further to really try and sort those out. I did that. That's how I was introduced to the business, and all of our money went into that lead source. And we did that all the time, all the way up till when the do not call thing came into place. That got a little bit tougher. But I could tell you that I got acclimated to that world to where I wasn't afraid to get on the phone. I had been turned down so many times. A lot of leads are not always a yes on the first time, but if I could find value and a proper follow-up date, these leads will start turning over on themselves. It's going to be like, my wife and I are getting married, or my fiance, we're getting married, but we're not moving for 90 days. Cool, let's talk about it now, leave it a good place, and I'm going to be calling you back in 60 days, But I didn't have to share those leads. Now, I've tried Zillow leads, and I've tried some of the trigger leads, and I'm like, dear Lord, there's 50 people hitting it at the same time. That's a whole different environment. Were your leads exclusive, or did you have to compete against like the trigger leads, stuff like that?
So I've done it all, actually. When I first started, we weren't doing the trigger leads. Excuse me. We weren't doing the trigger leads. We were doing the lending tree, bank rate, they click, your phone starts ringing. Typically, we'd be the first ones to call. I did that for about 4 years. From there, I went to PennyMac. So I've been a top producer at any company I've gone to. I was a number 2 producer at PennyMac, which is the second or third largest servicer in the nation. Went there. That is all internal. They're only calling their customers. It's a much easier.
Much easier.
Because it's just...
something about them.
Yeah, the rapport is already there, and you press a button, everything's in front of you. And then I've done trigger leads, which are the worst. That's where you're, unsolicited calls, essentially. Did fine there, not something I loved, but that's where being a broker is huge, where, a lot of people will talk to either the first person they know, their bank, or a big company, and don't realize that the rates that they're getting are so much higher than you would get when you would work with a broker. So that was a really easy in for me. But yeah, just it's a lot harder to build trust with a complete stranger that never asked for a phone call. But yeah, I've
Absolutely.
done it all.
Wow. Compared to that, now you're on the broker side. How are you doing it now? I mean, because that's a big difference when someone's feeding you leads. Obviously, you can buy your own leads. That gets to be expensive. But there's also a trade off on that side. If someone's buying your leads, they're probably paying you a little different on the splits. When you come to the broker side, you do less loans, make more, but you still got to find the customers. What's the day in the life of Brian Green look like when it, as far as how do you go about your business day?
So am very structured with how I do everything. So my day to day typically will change depending on what day it is and what I've planned out for the week. I am a huge planner person.
Okay.
I mean, stickers, all of it. I know what I'm doing from the moment I wake up, and I have most of my week planned. I don't know if you've ever read the book Getting Things Done, but it changed my life.
Who's that
So,
by?
David, oh God, I cannot remember. David something, but
Okay.
yeah, really, really good book. Basically, creating an inbox of everything that you need to do in a certain place, and then you spend one day a week, send it all. So I have certain days where I'm only doing follow up, similar to the core, but I
Okay.
don't adhere to that quite as much and more make it my own. But I do follow-ups almost every day, depending on who it is. I have days set aside for social media. So you ask kind of like how I'm getting clients. A lot of it's coming from just social media.
Okay.
My goal is to put out at least 12, edited, well-made videos a month.
Well,
Uh,
there we go.
I
Now we're finding
luckily
out.
have a wife who is really good at this stuff,
Okay.
and so she can help me. So I have a leg up there, but she's got a ton of followers, and I'm just lucky in that sense. But yeah, I mean, the future is going to be social media. I mean, the future's now, but it's just a lot less expensive than buying leads. And a little simpler. So yeah, I divvy my day up depending on if I'm going to be filming, editing, coming up with ideas, figuring out a way to market myself. I don't do as much in-person networking.
Okay.
It's more of being on the phone, whether that be on the phone or on social media.
I'm liking it because Dan Martell, was just reading his book and he was talking about your schedule and stuff like that. But also talking about using leverage, but kind of what you're doing, understanding where your business is coming from, what's triggering that business, making small videos and or posts that never get outdated. And these things are always out there and getting recycled all the time, whether it's 1 week from now, 2 weeks, a year from now. That's why it's so hard when I want to tell everybody what the rates are every day. I'm like, good. And then that's obsolete within an hour.
Yeah.
I'm really big on evergreen types. I call it evergreen. I've got a couple other channels that we do stuff, and everything's evergreen, so that it's a crime. There's a crime channel, like whether you like crime today or a year from now, it'll still hold it. Travel channel, it's have you
Yeah.
ever been to Europe type of thing. But I did those channels with Tim Ray, one of our loan originators here, because he's big in social media. And I said, look, I want to try and build these channels, but the whole goal is to figure out the algorithms of YouTube to pour back on to Xpert Home Lending. But that's why we use mortgage ballers. People are like, well, why not call it Xpert? Because if I'm expert, I can't advertise into certain areas because they won't let the brokers recruit. And so even if it's just a video, they'll call that recruiting. So if I break off and have a different
Right.
avenue, I now can promote that into these areas and get it in front of loan originators and realtors. Because people always ask, why didn't you do it that way? But that's why we did it. Because of certain networks, AIM and Broker Coalition, things like that, they consider it advertising trying to recruit. And when really it's not, it's just trying to showcase. You're not ever going to hear me recruiting people on these videos. Instead, I just try and bring something different that the average loan officer is not getting from where they're at. But you figured it out on your own. So I take my hat off to you.
Thank you.
I love having those conversations because you've already figured that out and you're consistent And the key is just do it. Don't be afraid. There's perfection in the imperfection. The fact that your wife knows how to do it too. My wife won't go anywhere near a camera, but I love it. Um, are you part of a team? I think you said it, that you're just doing. Are you doing it 100% by yourself right now? Okay. And here's my question for you. We know that you've been on the lead side. Was that a direct lender side, or was that also broker?
Both.
Okay, so you've done it both that way. And what did you do before you got into loans? Because you said 10 years?
Yeah, so it's 10 years. Before that, I worked in property management. I was
real estate.
A leasing agent. So, when you walk in looking for an apartment, I worked at the biggest apartment community in Sacramento. It was 800 and some odd units, and did that for a while. It was a really great segue into this, because I don't think you get any more personal with anyone other than their home. So, I was moving people in, dealing with complaints of their home, dealing with rent, and then it's transferred very quickly into still dealing with their home, but now it's just the money side of it. So it taught me to have a lot of compassion for people, be understanding, just, seeing that people come from different places. And same thing with being licensed in a lot of states. I had 17 licenses at one point, and it's really interesting meeting and talking to people that are all over the U.S., because there's just so many different cultures, even state to state.
I've learned that myself. I was California only before I came to Georgia, and then now I'm in 44 states. I'm personally licensed in 44 states. What I found, a lot of my customers during COVID were moving out of California, but there was like certain states they were going to. Our first 7 licenses were like Colorado, Texas, Arizona. We had Nevada. Actually, Nevada, we started, took forever to get, but you had Washington, Oregon. People were just moving out. Texas was big in there. Florida was big. But you also had Tennessee, things like that. I decided Georgia, because within 2 hours, I can be in multiple states, but I needed the East Coast in order to do the correspondent side, because we had to get our funds out, and that 3 hours gives us a head start on the California people. We actually have people in Hawaii at 6 hours, but it really, I don't know how you do correspondent from California unless you're going to bring people in early, because you lose 3 hours right out of the day. And when you have busy funding days, like, you have to preset all that stuff up. I've learned a lot with that. I did it many years ago, but then I got away from it because I was doing it by myself. I needed partners. The way things are in the environment now with lending and TRID, I can't do it by myself. And that was probably my biggest growth factor that propelled me into growth, was taking on partners. I was limited by my day and my time and my calendar until I started. So buying back your time, I started with partners that said, okay, you're a recruiting strength. You go recruit. I'll do this side of it. And then now we have funding. It's like, okay, you handle funding. You do this. It's hard letting go. You don't trust anybody, right? No one does it like you. And I've had to figure out that they do. Some of them do it actually better than me. And so it's hard to say it, but I had to pry it from my hands. And it's allowed me to stay for 35 years. I blinked an eye, and 35 years has gone by like that. Let me tell you, Brian. I want to know this. Because obviously you go and you're producing social media. Who is Brian when you're not in loan mode? What kind of things do you like to do?
Yeah. So I have lived in the Bay Area in Sacramento, basically my whole life, most of the time in Sacramento. So got a lot of friends out here that, I still hang out with. Some of the extracurriculars enjoy doing is pickleball. So got into that a couple of years ago, and really enjoyed it. I did kind of the opposite way that a lot of people did COVID, where people, when COVID happened, they became, they had a lot less to do with the lockdowns and everything, but that was one of the busiest times of my life. But then when rates went up, I switched, and I, wasn't as busy, and I started to bake a lot more. So I bake. Okay. I can make French macarons pretty well. And I started the plants. Forget the word, but I have a ton of house plants. Like, this room has barely anything. I have a whole living room full of them.
A botanist? Is that what you're doing?
Say it again. Sorry.
Is it a botanist?
No, just house plants. Just buying house plants and trying to keep them alive is all.
Keeping the oxygen levels correct in my house.
Yeah, right. And then I like going to the gym. I enjoy playing poker. and spend time with my wife. I got really lucky, and my wife's my best friend, so get to spend a lot of time with her. And yeah, oh, and reading books. I really enjoy reading. I'm reading the Dune series right now, which has been great.
I literally talked to somebody this morning, and they said during that time they became an expert at the Rubik's Cube, and they started competing. They got it down to 8.9 seconds was their fastest solving, unless another person was puzzles.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, all these people doing stuff. I just got off the phone with Catherine Barnett. She was like we had 3 people tied for number 2 in 2024 out of 620 people. So to get those interviews is cool because you get to, I always ask them, like, what are you doing? And she was totally opposite of what she does and doesn't do, but she's very deliberate in the few things that she does do. But she's all about, she's been in a long time. She has a database, so she just is staying in constant contact with her database. And every life-changing thing, someone had a baby, she just automatically shoots out this personalized thing. She asks somebody to just watch us for those life events, not just a card like happy birthday, like actually sending something that's personable and hand signed. And she says, she just nurtures and farms that lead source to her because she worked so hard over the years to get it, where a lot of people, they just keep buying new leads. But man, anytime that you close a deal, now they're your deals, you just keep slowly building that database. And if you did a great job, they're going to trust you the next time and the next. I have people I've done 20 loans for over the years. I have like this tree, and it has like 40 people on there. I can go back to almost all my loans, and somehow, some way, the relationships tied back into those 40 people. And I can tell you, I take very good care of those 40 people. They call me up, I stop what I'm doing, I make sure I take care of them because I'm where I'm at today because those 40 had a good relationship, and they told somebody and told somebody and told somebody. Yeah. But yes, 35 years has gone by fast. I'm like, whoa. Any kids?
No kids.
No kids yet.
No pets.
Good. You can still travel then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're doing the dink. I don't know if you've heard of what dinking is.
No, what's dinking?
It's a dual income, no kids. So
I think I have heard that.
Yeah, we've had dogs, and we don't even have any pets right now, and even that was very restricting.
Yes.
You never know what can happen, but right now we're not planning on it. And there's also adoption. There's so many kids that need a home anyways. So if it's something that we really want to do, then that's,
that's awesome. Matt Dersh, I interviewed him 2 days ago, and he and his wife actually adopted 4 kids. I'm like, dude, I didn't know that. It was incredible listening to him. Matter of fact, he's got 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, then 2 9-month-old twins. And I thought, wow, that's a variance. But he said, that their hearts were so big, they're like, we wanted more. And I was like, and they're young. They're really young. And I was like, wow, most people wouldn't even do 1, let alone 4. I love finding out these things because so many people just see us and they're like, yeah, he's a loan originator, just like all the other loan originators. And it's like, no. My people know me as Rich, and I also do loans, but most of my people become business friendships. They feel comfortable to call me. They will call and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? What's the ideas on it? We can just troubleshoot and talk about it. And I'm not, let's pull your credit. Let's do this. Many times, my pre-approvals, I'll ask you, what's your credit last time? It was like 780. Cool. Let me quote you a score. Let me pull. I know you're going to be approved. I'm already done the numbers. Based on what you're telling me, I'll pull the credit later because you're going to get a million phone calls. I try my hardest to be different. On me, I do pay for all my appraisals and I collect it back through the loan. My wife hated that. There's times when I had $15,000, $20,000 in appraisals. But in all the years I've done that, I think I've only been burned on a per year basis of 2. And most of the time, at least one of those, something wrong with the property and they go find another property. And so I still come out. But I've tried to short because it's like, oh my gosh, we lost $1,000, $1,200. I'm like, no, but we gained this. And I just try and make something different. I do deals for free sometimes. Like if it doesn't go right, I don't feel right taking a commission. It's like, hey, let's make this right. I'm going to do it right here. I didn't see that coming. So many people hold on to people, but that's been my motto. Now, to be honest with you, Brian, most of the people I deal with are investors. SCR loans, we no longer do the Fannie Mae where we got to figure out all the properties. I have a guy that has 100 properties. It used to be a nightmare. Now I'm like, DSCR, that's what we're doing. And, he can call me. And now being in other states, I now have boots on the ground everywhere to say, hey, what's the rental market over there? What's the rental market over here? And I can pull that off and I can send an address, say, hey, you're in California, you're not wanting to buy right now. You got to check out this property in southern Georgia. It's brand new. It's right by the Air Force Base. And it's DR Horton. They have the same model up by you for $650. It's going for $245 here. And the ratio is this, this, and this. Have your agent call. And so I do a lot of reverse marketing and putting properties in front of people saying, these are your numbers and I can do this. Matter of fact, based on 30% down, you could buy 2 here and end up with a better ratio than you would on the 1 there. Because, hell, when I was in California, I had to put 40 to 50% down on some of the properties just to break even because the values are so high versus the rent. It's just amazing. How are you guys doing with, now you're not really in the fires or nothing like that, but it's been 3 years for me. But I went 6 times back to California last year. So I find I'm still going back quite a bit. I go to Southern California a lot. That's where my family is. And we'll be doing another event up there. Usually we try and do Elk Grove or Sacramento. We'll do that definitely before the year's over. We'll do a UW event, invite everybody out that way, and they'll cover it to get you out there. And we'll do a realtor event where you can bring all your realtors with you, and they will make sure everybody's covered, and flights to food to getting you out there with a place to stay. I'm amazed all the things that they do. I don't know. I'm like, God, $600,000 to take everybody out there last time, but somehow that works and pencils for them. But we're trying to do more events, and that's where I'm going to be for 2025, coming out and getting out from behind the desk and saying, hey, I'm coming out your way. Bring all your realtors. Let me spoil them. Let me show them, try and make it that much of a smaller world versus, well, they're out in Georgia. That's pretty far away. Like, what's going on? And then when we send people to UWM, they bring the realtors out and they're like, oh, wow, this makes more sense. This is a huge place. Have you ever been to UWM?
I have not.
All right. Just so you know, that's open to you 100% for free. Anytime you want to go out there, you can go out there for a success track. You can take your realtor partners out there for just your group. And then we will do a company event. We always go out there at least once a year. Last year, we didn't do the realtor event. We did a company event where it was just expert people. This year, we'll probably go back to the realtor event, and, you can bring unlimited realtors with you, which is kind of cool, and they'll specifically design it to try and knock their socks off.
Yeah.
This is why you should work with Brian, because not only is he incredible at loans, but look at the support that's behind them. When you look at what's behind you, they don't originate their own loans. They don't get paid unless they close your loans. There are things I like about UWM. I was able to scale business because of UWM. I used to have UWM and Rocket, but eventually I had to make a transition. And the company, you guys, since you picked what lender you want to work with, was choosing UWM 72% of the time and choosing Rocket 9% of the time. So I'm like, well, we'll go UWM. If it was the other way around, I would have been a Rocket. But people ask, why did I go that direction? Well, my loan officers were making that decision. It wasn't like it was 50-50. There are things I like about Rocket. I wish I had both of them still because I love the competing for rates. That's what helps. But we got Kind. Kind we're doing over 100 deals a month with. So I know they pick up a lot of business. If pricing isn't where it needs to be, you guys are definitely great at finding those alternatives out of the 126 lenders. I never thought I'd say I had 126 lenders, by the way, because that's a lot. Blows my mind. When you think about your business, what is your favorite part of the business? Who do you like to work with? What kind of loans do you like to do? Or are you just doing anything that comes your way?
So favorite part of the business? I like working with people. I think it's really exciting. Helping someone get into a new house, helping someone with an investment property, second home. But what I really enjoy is the refinance side of it, which is starting to come back now, which is great.
We're seeing that.
It is nice getting someone into, their first home, but sometimes there's, unforeseen things and they're just getting their feet wet, or if someone's having to upsize or downsize. Again, these are nice things to help out with. But if you can change someone's life just by lowering their mortgage payment, getting rid of some debt that's been bogging them down. Even just the payment deferrals can be life-changing for people. And just being there, and it's much more personal. There's no agents involved. There's no seller, buyer. It's just you and the borrower, the homeowner, trying to figure out what makes sense for them, whether they're saving money monthly, paying the home off sooner, saving money in interest. Getting their kids set up in a better way. It's something that makes me feel really good, and it's something that I really do enjoy doing. And if you look at I have a 5-star rated lender on Zillow. If you look at my reviews, the
Oh, wow.
majority of them are from the refinances that I've worked with, and you can just tell people really appreciate it when you can change their finances in a beneficial way.
No, we've seen some refis in California where the people say $1,500, $2,000 a month. I mean, for most people, that's life changing depending on what you do. I try and take my refinances and I don't just sell savings. I try and sell what can you do with that? Let me show you this, 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 and this because this is powerful. The last thing I want to see him do is, oh, I just saved you $1,000 and you just bought a brand new car for $800 a month. It's like all we did was shift. So many people want stuff now, and it is what it is. I mean, quite honestly, that it's just a matter of time. People are pent up right now for the refinances. They have the equity, but they've been holding on to those low rates. But yet they've accumulated a lot of personal debt to car payments. Hey, it's zero interest, yeah, but it's all due and payable over a 5-year period. So you still got a $750 payment, even though there's zero interest. Just the structure of these payments are designed to keep people. I mean, they're making house payments between 2 cars and insurance, and they still isolate it in their mind. But I'm at 2.5 over here. Yeah, but you're at 9 blended with all your rates on your credit card, stuff like that. I have some friends that have always used their house equity to keep up with the Joneses. And I mean, they're just, as soon as I can do something, just let me know, let me know, let me know. And I'm like, okay. Eventually, I had to leave because I wasn't sure. I know I can retire faster outside of California. Um, I wanted to have those options, but I was paying so much taxes on the corporation side and personal side. I just got frustrated. And it was like, okay, I came to a point where I either had to re up with my partnership there or go ahead and say, hey, let's split. And I made the decision to split. But I mean, that has saved beyond belief as far as Georgia state taxes versus California, depending on where you're at and things like that. I mean, there's tons of things you can do. But so many people, like where you said that you spent some time in the Bay Area. Have you always been in California?
Yeah, yes. As far as living, yes.
Living. I was always in California too. Born there, raised there. Part of that 25 years, Southern California up till 54 was Northern California. There's so much I miss about California. But my grandkids I knew were going to be here. And that was important to me because my sons went to school outside of California. They're like, yeah, we ain't coming back there. I'm like, well, where are you going? And Georgia became one of those places, Colorado, Texas. Went to Colorado. It was like, felt like 4 degrees when I was there. And I was like, that's not going to happen. I got to Georgia during July 4th. It was hot, but I'm like, I can do hot. But it also was green. I mean, Arizona's hot. Um, Never made it to Texas, drove through there twice, and then never made it to Florida. We just settled on northern Georgia, and it's they're just good, hardworking people all over the United States. That's one thing that I think I've taken away from the last 3 years. Great loan originators in every state, borrowers, and people all have the same hopes and dreams. It's not like people in California think different and do think that it's just like yesterday was first time home buyer in Orange County, $1 million. This morning, first time home buyer in Michigan, where she was at, was $240,000. Same economy as far as the rates and things like that, but the entry level has really changed over the years. Where you're at and the clients that you're talking to, what's it take to get into a house right now in Sacramento? And maybe what's the age of that house?
So we have a pretty mixed bag. So we're the 9th largest city in the United States, which I think a lot of people don't realize. And we're the 6th largest in California, which California's got a lot of big ones.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we're pretty big. So we have so if you go to a place like downtown Sacramento, in the capital, you're going to get houses that were built in the 20s and the 30s, much older. The house that I own was built in 1971. Love it. Great bones. You'll find a lot of new build, like a ton of new build homes out here as well. So you're going to get a mixed bag as far as age of the home, and price too. So because we're such a large, uh, surface space that, what we cover, I have some people getting into homes as low as 350. I think that's about the bottom of what I've seen here in Sacramento. And then you're also going to find stuff, getting close to a million. So it really just depends. But I think that's one of the best parts of Sacramento is you're not pigeonholed into just one, you know, one little market of, everything's 650, everything's 750, everything's 500. We have a huge difference between all the different home prices. You may drive an extra 15 minutes, but that's the beauty of it. There's tons of freeways, highways all around us.
Sure.
But yeah, it just depends on where you're looking, what you're looking for. But I can find something for someone most of the time.
I agree. What's your outlook for 2025? Everybody has a different thought process. Everybody's market's a little different. Um, what do you say to those people that are sitting on the fence right now, trying to figure out whether they're going to keep sitting or get out? Do you like the idea of the idea of putting people in the houses now versus waiting? Are you telling people to wait a little bit? What do you see out there, as you talk to people?
Yeah, so two different markets with the refinance and the purchase. So with the refinance, it really just comes down to benefit. Is this going to help you in one way or another? And are you able to recoup whatever costs in a reasonable amount of time? That's where I'll always start. If we can't say yes to both of those things, we're not going to do it. As far as purchasing a home, I think it's like what they say about investing. The best time to start investing was 30 years ago. The second best time is now. I feel that way, especially in my market in Sacramento. We have, it was either last year or the year before, we were voted by Forbes the #1 place to live in California, which is pretty crazy. There's a movie coming out right now called Sacramento.
Oh, wow.
It's awful, but a lot of these fires that are happening, a lot of people are moving here, and just anything that's on the market is getting grabbed up pretty quickly. I think just all these things converging are making it a pretty great investment. And we are one of the best cities to live. We're one of the more affordable cities in California. We have a ton of trails. So if you like being outside, Sacramento is a place to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're able to find something that you can buy that is affordable, that you can make the payment, makes sense for you, makes sense for your family, there's not much of a reason not to do it, because you got to pay for housing one way or another. You might as well get something that has a higher, nothing's guaranteed, but you have a pretty high probability that home you purchase will be worth more in 5, 10, 20 years.
Oh yeah, definitely. We put that kind of timeline on it. I remember 2008 when that crash happened. I put a bunch of people in the homes in downtown Sacramento at like the 110 to 112, Rancho Cordova, 110 to 112.
Rather.
And I'm just like, wow. Matter of fact, one of the borrowers' names, I was looking at our fundings. I'm like, I know that name. It's such a unique name. And I pulled it up and I was like, oh my gosh, because I want to say, what's that house? I put them in that house back in 2010, and they paid $115 for it and did a Cal HFA loan, 100%. They didn't have money to go down. And sure enough, like that thing was like 620. I was like, holy Jesus, that thing's gone up a lot. And they were so freaked out at the time to make that commitment. But now when you look back, all those people, those fears, and everybody has true fears. I get it. The commitment. It's a commitment. And that wasn't even a brand new house. That house was 20 years old at the time that we did it, maybe even 27 years old, because there's an older part over by the high school, Cordova High School. I have a Mel that runs our back end for all the payouts for our admin. She's in California. She's out of Rancho Cordova. So
I live near Cordova High School.
Okay.
I do. Yeah. This is all my backyard.
That area right there. A lot of people, I want to live in Roseville. I'm like, well, let's take you over here to Cordova, and you might be surprised that you could afford a lot more versus Roseville or Rockland, especially if you go up the other direction, start going to Folsom and stuff like that. One thing California has that it's always dark when I wake up here. There's times in California where I could get up at 5 or 5:30 and I could go out for a walk because the sun was coming up. I find the East Coast is always dark in the morning until about 6:45, 7. And it's like, man, I'm already having to get ready for work and stuff. So I don't like to be outside a lot because and you guys have a lot of bike trails, not that, but also bike lanes. And, then you have sidewalks. Here, we don't have a lot of sidewalks in a lot of places. We don't have a lot of infrastructure, especially where I'm at, kind of on the outskirts. And there's no way I'm walking in the street when it's dark outside. Someone come by and bump me because they're on their phone or something. So that's one thing I do miss about California is the ability to be outside almost year round, really. I do have 4 seasons here, a lot different, getting used to that. But we get a lot of rain here, which is interesting. So things grow really quickly. You can have, Bermuda grass in your front yard, and it looks like a golf course because it gets all the water and the sun that it needs for that. But it dies off in the winter. Everything turns brown. That's kind of weird too. No, I appreciate it. Is there, I'm sitting here drilling you with questions, and I have no idea. Maybe you might or might not. Do you have any questions for me that I can answer for you?
That's a great question. I mean, I think you've done a great job at this, not just asking me, but sprinkling in information about yourself as well. It kept it really interesting. It didn't feel like you were interrogating me. This felt like a real
Gotcha.
conversation. So I appreciate that. I mean, no, not really. I really enjoyed this. I think.
I know that put you on the spot. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I think just when you asked me, Ed, you kept it where we talked to each other, and you asked me questions, and then we're able to, talk about your own experiences and yourself, and not a way of hijacking and making it about you. So no, it's not that I don't have any. I think I just really enjoyed this conversation in general. So
Right on. I appreciate that.
yeah, I appreciate it as well.
No, that's it, everybody. There he is, Mr. Brian Green out of Sacramento, California. If you're looking to figure out the California market, and we're going to make sure all your information's down below, because your links, anything that we've got to get people to you, whether it's people want to talk to you about what Xpert's all about, or if borrowers want to talk to you about loans, pre-approvals, or refinances, seeing if they meet the 2 yeses. Refinances are a big deal, and your house is one of the most powerful assets you will ever have.
It is.
And talking to somebody who's just not trying to sell you a loan, but's going to actually spell it out and say, let's make sure this is a good fit. Having someone like Brian do that with the experience, and he's been there before in this tough market, you might want to take him up on that, because that's literally just a conversation. And sometimes those conversations can blow your mind. I hate when I get loans, Brian, and they're like, oh my God, I should have done this a year ago because I could have saved $1,000. I really needed this a year ago. Don't put it off, people. You're seeing it. Watch for him on social media. Watch for his videos. Give him a follow. Make sure you're liking those videos, letting him know that you're loving the topics that he's at. And make sure you're commenting on his videos. Tell him what you would like to hear him talk about. That's one of the best things about social media is we try and figure out what people want to talk about, but you can also tell us what you'd like to hear from us, and we'll go get it for you and bring you the knowledge that you need to answer those questions. But
Even just a message. Some of my best videos have been ones that I didn't think of, and someone was just like, "Hey, have you ever thought about talking about this?" So
I liked it.
yeah, don't be shy. If you have an idea, message me, put it in the comments. I would love to talk about it.
Well, we'll definitely make sure all your information's in here. Brian, thanks for taking time out of your day to talk with me, to meet with me. I know you're busy, but I like to get to know all the people that call Xpert Home Lending home for right now. Whether I get you for a day, I get you for 10 years, but it's all these individuals that are real and have real lives, and they bring all that collectively to a company. And that's what Xpert's all about. It's not about just having all these people on islands, and it is a small world electronically, as we're figured out. But thank you so much for your time and just being absolute honest. It was actually a really good interview. Thanks for doing that for me. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich.
All right, everybody. Like we always say when we close it out, stay thirsty, my friends.